Have you seen the absolutely wonderful cat's head 3D pictures that are out there on the internet? I think there's one or two people are making them, and it is beautiful. And I have been trolling the internet for tutorials on this and I can't find any, so I thought I'd have a go making it myself. For a variety of reasons, this is not a tutorial. I'll explain some more as we go on. But what I've done firstly is sketched out a rough cat's face. Now I would very much recommend making it much narrower, you'll see why later. And basically it's just an oval, and I'm not felting in the bottom chin, so it'll become more clear at the moment, but the bottom is going to have a sort of Y shape cut out of it, but I'm just making a mound in the middle where the head is roughly going to be. And this is the picture I was basing it on. It looks nothing like this, but it was a cute picture and it was fun to work on. Not bad for a first try, I think. So I'm just trying to make the eyes about the size I want them to be, and then just using a pen to lightly decide where I want all the bits and pieces to be, where I want the eyes to be, hopefully so they kind of line up. They really don't. This is most uneven, but nature's uneven. Popping in and felting on some black discs. These are like placeholders, so I know where the eye is, because it's easier to build up the rest of the face once you've got the eyes in. If I knew I was going to use glass eyes at this point, I'd have probably just stuck the glass eyes in at this point. Right, now building up the muzzle, the cheek of the cat. If you haven't already, I have a video on how to make a small cat's face, and I'm following mainly along with this, just building up the lower jaw, the bottom of the face a little bit more, and I'm adding some lower eyelids to this, which is something I've started doing recently. So as you'll see, this is what I'm doing here, creating lower eyelids by taking a couple of bits of fluff. Well, it's not just the eyelids, it's the lower, blends into the cheeks, blends into the muzzle, but creating a line for the eyelids. So I've felted along that straight line just to give the area of the eyelids and felt this in place. Oh, that looks so uneven when I'm looking at it from this angle. Anyway, so that's the bottom of the face area covered, and I'm going to do the same with eyelids for the top of the eye and coming down a kind of T-piece onto the nose. My camera stopped recording here. Problem one, but this is covered well in my how to felt a cat's face. You basically make a T shape that's going to come from where the nose is up and then in eyelids over the top of the cat's face. But yeah, you can just see it's just magically put on place here, but it does, you can roughly see what kind of shape that is, and that makes the eyelids, and it makes a kind of flap for the nose going down the side of the face and then meeting at the muzzle. And now pretty much you've got the shape of the cat's face. I'm just squidging it. Again, I would do it much narrower and use the fluff to build it up later, but this is my first time doing this, and as I say, I haven't found any tutorials. And also, this is not the video I wanted to put up. Well, I had two cameras, one of them has totally failed to record anything here. I have tried to edit this video like 6 times last night and about 3 times today. Editing hasn't worked, so fingers crossed this works. Okay, so here I tried to do the eyes. I went with grey eyes for the minute. And it just, as you'll find out, I wasn't so happy with them in the end, which is a pain because in my 2D pictures, the felted eyes have worked really well. So if you wanted to felt in the eyes, I've left a little bit of the black around the edge and then felted in grey, added a little white highlight on the opposite where the glint of the eye is going to be, added black, bunged in the glint of the eye. And then I'm just felting in the different colours of the face. This doesn't have to be spectacularly neat, but it's just if there's any gaps going to be coming in between the fur when I add it on, this just makes everything neater and gives me an idea of where I want all the fur to be. And gave me something to photograph to check I was on the right lines at this point. So yeah, just covering as the cat is half black and half ginger almost, and then just quickly making a lower jaw, which is just kind of a small U shape. I'm adding a little pink onto the bottom, well, onto the bottom lip there, This doesn't look quite so bright once we've got everything sorted out. And then add in a little pink for the nose as well, and I'm going to mute it down with a bit of black as well. The tiny bits of pink really show up so bright in this, but once you cover them with a little black, it does dull it down and they look pretty cool, really pretty cute. So adding black over the top of the pink, so there's just a little bit of the pink showing. And then 2 triangles for the ears, roughly going by the size that I sketched out what I thought the ears for the cat should be, and tacked them on. This is such an interesting thing. The cat comes away from the white felt that I was felting him onto, and it's almost like the back's hollow, but it makes it a little bit easier to work when I can pick it up. It's not stuck onto the felt. And starting to add the fur on. Now with this, little amounts and many layers is the way to go. So you're going to cut yourself, now this was about an inch section of black fleece, and I just took tiny bits of this, fanned it out as thin as I could, and then felted it into the side of the head, starting at the furthest away edges in a circle, working inwards. In a little while I'll include a little diagram of the direction of the hair. But once you get the hang of it, it does make it fairly easy to do. But like I say, the most important secret is just going in, making the layers as fine as you can, but putting lots of them in. Because it's going to be black underneath this, it's black all the way, it's okay to overlap the ends of the layers. But if you wanted a really dense cat's coat, I could cut the fleece twice as long as I want it, and then felt down the middle and fold the fleece over, so we get a double thickness as you wear, and this will get a really nice thick fleece. Making sure you're careful with the directions you put the fibres in really helps give extra detail to the cat, like making sure going down the bridge of the nose the fibres are all still pointing up towards the top of the head, but then under the eye going in a different direction, just so that you can really see the difference between the bridge of the nose and the actual side of the face. And I'm also really separating the lower jaw from the upper jaw and face by leaving the lower jaw and not felting it till last, and felting in slightly different direction, just so you can really see the difference. And I'm also blending in some slight different colours just to see how it worked. So I just opened up a section and felted in some brown, following the exact same lines. This is a super dark brown, you can barely not see it at all, but I just wanted to try it to see how it would work really. And I did an extra layer down here at the bottom before adding some more black on top, and to be honest, you really can't see that. If you wanted something like that round at the bottom of his face, you would have to add a few layers. It's exactly the same with the lower jaw, just taking small amounts, fanning them out and working up the jaw and keeping the layers absolutely fine enough so you can still see a little touch of this pink poking through, a little touch of his pink lip. But this way it's a very nicely muted colour and you're not stuck with bright screaming pink, although it's already starting to look not too bad. But yeah, making the chin even finer than the rest of the face. And this is the point where I decided the eyes were just not working for me. So I ordered some off of eBay. These are just 20mm blue glass eyes. Blue was the only colour I could get when I was searching. I wasn't even sure if I was going to keep them in, but eventually I did glue them in place. But they are rather beautiful. They catch the light in a lovely way, which does bring the character to life. So I would say if you're doing this as a keeper, very much glass eyes do finish the whole thing beautifully. So going over to work on the other side, well, the black patches by his ears, that's nice and easy, just fill that in with black again. But to get the markings on the cat, now the colours I have are not perfect. I would prefer if my lighter and darker colours still had more of the orange cast. As you can see, I'm going with a more chocolate and a more cream, but sometimes we've just got to use what we've got. So I went with this, and it doesn't look too hideous, I don't think. So what I'm doing is marking out the areas I'm going to want in the lighter colour and the darker colour by using little amounts and felting it in the places that I'm going to want the other colours. And this gives me a guide, this gives me a pattern to work from. And then just back to tiny layers of the fleece, just exactly in the black. Now it can be easier, especially if I'm working on big sections, well, a big face, to break it down into sections at places where it would make sense. So the section between the ears is nice, makes sense to be felting in there, but as I come further down the eyes, again I look at natural lines if I can, you know, where there's a change of colour, and try and split up and work up to a line, and it just makes it a bit easier. And as I'm going, you can kind of groom the fibres a little with your needle, so that the black and the orange mix a little bit at their ends, so it's not a solid line, which it kind of never would be. I don't think any cat's going to have an absolutely perfect parting, so just groom the fibres in as well, and that does look kind of cute. And then when you're coming up to a bit where there's going to be a join in the colour, where there's going to be a different colour underneath, I tuck the ends in and don't let the orange end go onto where the different colour is going to be. Again, you could also do it double length and fold the edges over. But nice and time consuming here, really taking my time, adding tiny bits at a time, lots of layers. And again, if you do it like this, it's going to be possible. This is probably my next project, is going to be to trim him and see how that works out. But if you've got it nice and densely packed, you'll be able to trim it and have a smooth head cat that should look pretty awesome as well. And yeah, this doesn't take as long as you think, but you've got to felt each individual bit in nice and carefully, and make sure that none of the stray ends go onto the different colour underneath as well. So a little fiddly, but well worth the effort, I think. If I just had slightly better colours, it would look even more awesome. And as I promised, here's the guide for the directions of the hair if you want to pause the video and have an extra look at that. Pretty much all animals it's the same, but if you think of that, where you're embedding the hair in and the direction you want it to lie, that makes everything so much easier. And start from the outside, overlapping the hair as you go, and it will make the most natural look that you can. And finally, I want to add his whiskers. Now, I got natural horsehair that was ethically sourced, ethically cut from a horse, and I'm just trying different ways to put it in. I've first of all separated the hair and gently inserted the horsehair, but then I discovered you really don't need to. The horsehair is so fine that you don't need to separate the actual fur on his muzzle. You can just go for it. So I'm just gently pushing it into his muzzle and just kind of hoping that friction will hold it in for just now. I've looked at different ways to attach this, and I think in the very long hair it's going to be pretty difficult. I tried using glue, I tried felting it in a bit, but friction's just holding it just now. But the whiskers really do finish him off. So just here are some different angles of him. I think the eyes are really beautiful, even if the cat wouldn't necessarily have blue eyes, it does work. He doesn't quite have the kitteny face, and from that angle looks terrible. That's brilliant. I tried just for funsies, duplicating, doing the ginger both sides and doing the black both sides.